FBI agents storm suburban bank to arrest blonde woman in simple dress. Seconds later, they're saluting her. The automatic doors of First National Bank burst open as three federal agents rush inside, hands hovering over service weapons, their target already identified. Sarah Mitchell, 30-something, blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing a modest dress from Target, stands frozen at the teller window. The lead agent, Morrison, reaches for his handcuffs, jaw set with determination. But something shifts in his expression as he gets closer. Recognition floods his features. His hand drops from the cuffs to his side. In one fluid motion, he snaps to attention. The other agents follow suit. Three federal badges gleam as they render a crisp salute to the woman in the $20 dress. Every customer, every teller, every executive watches in stunned silence as the power dynamics of the entire room flip in a single heartbeat. This moment has been weeks in the making, orchestrated with military precision, and Sarah Mitchell is no simple customer. The surveillance van across the street has been recording everything, waiting for exactly this scenario to unfold. But how did a woman in a discount dress end up commanding the respect of federal agents? The morning sun illuminates First National Bank's Connecticut branch, where a businessman glances at Sarah Mitchell entering and immediately wrinkles his nose as if smelling something unpleasant. His diamond cufflinks catch the light as he steps aside, creating unnecessary distance between himself and her target dress. The security guard's hand instinctively moves to his radio, eyes narrowing with the practiced suspicion reserved for those who clearly don't belong. Branch manager Richard Hartwell emerges from his corner office, his expression shifting from professional welcome to barely concealed disdain in the span of 3 seconds. Beneath his polished exterior, his jaw tightens. Corporate reviews are next week, his branch numbers are down, and the recent restructuring has everyone on edge. He cannot afford any complications today. Sarah had volunteered to personally handle this final phase of the operation, telling her team she needed to feel what victims feel to ensure the evidence was irrefutable. You can't direct from an office what needs to be witnessed firsthand, she'd insisted. Sarah approaches the teller window with military precision disguised as nervousness. The cheap purse hanging from her shoulder conceals how she positions herself with clear sight lines to every exit. A flashback hits her suddenly. 16 years old, standing in a similar bank, watching her mother's hands shake as a loan officer sneers at their application. The memory fuels her forward. The teller, Jennifer Walsh, offers a smile that dies in her eyes, the kind reserved for people you're obligated to serve but wish would leave quickly. Sarah's voice cuts through the pretense with surgical precision. She requests access to a safety deposit box, producing documentation that makes Jennifer's manicured fingers freeze mid-reach. The paperwork shows international transfers, government classification stamps that shouldn't exist in a simple woman's possession. Jennifer's face drains of color as she reads. This is when Sarah leans forward, whispering something so quietly only Jennifer can hear. The teller takes an involuntary step backward, eyes wide with sudden fear. Hartwell notices the interaction, his irritation morphing into alarm. He strides across the floor, each step echoing his determination to maintain control. Sarah watches his approach with the patience of someone who has waited 20 years for this moment. She remembers her mother returning home that day, dreams crushed, spirit broken by men exactly like Hartwell. The flashback blends with present reality as Hartwell's expression mirrors that long-ago loan officer's contempt. Every gesture, every dismissive glance has been captured by hidden cameras, by the homeless man outside who's actually Agent Chen, by the delivery driver who's Agent Williams. Sarah volunteered for this assignment because she knew her personal investment would make her the perfect bait, her genuine emotional responses impossible to fake or claim as entrapment. Have you ever been completely wrong about someone's true identity? Share your story in the comments. Hartwell's polished veneer cracks as Jennifer Walsh waves him over with trembling hands. Sarah Mitchell stands perfectly still, federal identification in hand, watching his approach while internally reliving every moment of her mother's humiliation. The identification bears seals and classifications that should make any banker pause, but Hartwell's desperation overrides logic. His quarterly review depends on maintaining the branch's exclusive reputation, and accepting this woman's credentials means admitting he almost denied service to a federal agent. Ma'am, I don't know where you obtained this forgery, but we don't serve con artists here. The accusation slices through the morning quiet. Phones appear in manicured hands, recording what promises to be prime social media content. Sarah doesn't flinch, but inside she's 16 again, fists clenched as her mother is escorted out by security. The security guard lumbers over, hand resting on his radio, ready to call for police backup. Sarah leans close and whispers 7 words. Operation Equal Access. Stand down or face prosecution. Whatever she says makes him take 2 steps backward, his hand falling away from his radio. This minor action sends ripples of uncertainty through the watching crowd. Who is this woman who can make armed security retreat with a whisper? Hartwell's fear transforms into rage, pulling out his phone to dial the FBI's fraud division. When they answer, ask for Agent Morrison. Tell him Sarah Mitchell is here. The specificity of her request sends a chill through the room. Morrison isn't just any agent. He was Sarah's partner during her Army intelligence days, the only person who knew about her mother's story, who helped her channel that pain into purpose when she joined the Federal Reserve. A wealthy customer in designer heels decides to insert herself into the drama. People like you shouldn't even be allowed in here. This is a respectable establishment. Each word triggers another flashback. Her mother's voice breaking as she explained why the restaurant dream had to die, why some people were deemed worthy of opportunities while others weren't. Sarah's response is silence, but her fingers move across her phone screen, documenting every word. She thinks of her mother's gentle nature, how she never fought back, never raised her voice even as they destroyed her dreams. But Sarah isn't her mother, and this time the ending will be different. She breaks her silence with a legal reference that cuts through the mob mentality. Mr. Hartwell, are you familiar with Section 1981 violations? Several voices suddenly find reasons to return to their business. The FBI will arrive soon, but not from across town. They're already here, Morrison waiting in the coffee shop next door, their shared history about to converge with present justice. What would you do if you witnessed discrimination like this? Would you speak up or stay silent? Let us know below. The bank's doors slide open as FBI agent Morrison enters, his familiar gait immediately recognizable to Sarah despite the years since their Army intelligence days. Morrison's earpiece crackles. Phase 2 initiated, suspect took the bait. But his expression shifts from professional duty to personal recognition. During their time investigating military contractor fraud, Morrison had been the only one Sarah trusted with her mother's story, the only one who understood why she took discrimination cases so personally. Ms. Mitchell, what are you doing here? The question carries layers of meaning only they understand. Their last case together ended with Sarah accepting the Federal Reserve position, Morrison choosing FBI, but both driven by the same desire to protect the vulnerable. Hartwell launches into his explanation about fraud, but Morrison's hand silences him. Inspector General Mitchell? The title lands like thunder. Sarah produces her credentials with the same precision she once used to handle classified military documents. Morrison examines them, though he knew her rank before entering the building. Their coordinated operation required months of planning, Sarah insisting on taking the field role despite Morrison's concerns for her emotional well-being. The best evidence comes from first-hand observation, Agent Morrison, she says now, echoing their old debates about leadership from the front lines. Without hesitation, Morrison and his team snap to attention, rendering the salute that transforms the room's power dynamics. Ma'am, Inspector General, we weren't expecting you to be personally involved in the field operation. It's partially true. Even Morrison had argued against Sarah exposing herself to such direct discrimination, knowing how it would resurrect her trauma. The revelation ripples through the crowd as Sarah begins reciting violations from memory. Each date corresponds to a real person whose dreams were crushed like her mother's. March 15th, Maria Gonzalez, single mother of 3, denied a basic checking account. I was in the surveillance van that day, watched her leave in tears. The personal investment in each case becomes clear. Her phone connects to the Federal Reserve's secure database, displaying surveillance footage that shows Hartwell personally rejecting qualified applicants based on appearance, accent, zip code. Morrison explains how they've used the same infiltration techniques from their military days, adapting battlefield surveillance to banking discrimination. Even Jennifer Walsh's true identity emerges, the bank's own compliance officer, whose participation adds institutional liability. Sarah watches Jennifer's horror with grim satisfaction, tinged with pity. Another person corrupted by a system that rewards discrimination with bonuses and promotions. The power dynamics haven't just shifted, they've shattered entirely. Sarah stands in the same spot where her mother was humiliated 26 years ago. But this time, she holds the authority. The simple clothing that marked her as unworthy was carefully chosen, the same style her mother wore that terrible day. Every dismissive glance, every contemptuous word has been transformed into evidence. Morrison catches Sarah's eye, the subtle nod between old partners who've seen justice delayed but not denied. The scared teenager who vowed revenge has evolved into something more powerful, an agent of systemic change who understands that personal pain can fuel professional purpose without consuming the soul. Have you ever seen someone's true power completely change a situation? When did you realize someone was more than they appeared? Sarah Mitchell's true purpose unfolds as Morrison briefs the stunned crowd on Operation Equal Access, the largest civil rights enforcement action in Federal Reserve history. But for Sarah, this transcends professional achievement. She volunteered to personally experience what victims endure because statistics couldn't capture the soul-crushing weight of systematic rejection. At 16, she watched her mother denied a crucial business loan, the rejection delivered with casual cruelty that shattered more than financial dreams. The deathbed promise she made wasn't just about revenge, but about ensuring no other child would watch their parents' spirit break against institutional prejudice. The investigation spans 17 states, but this branch holds special significance. It's the same building where her mother's dreams died, now ground zero for systemic change. Jennifer Walsh panics, attempting to delete customer service records from her phone, each keystroke captured by federal monitoring systems. Her desperation mirrors Sarah's teenage helplessness, but with crucial difference. Jennifer chose complicity, while Sarah's mother was simply victimized. The attempted cover-up becomes additional evidence of consciousness of guilt. Sarah watches this unfold while battling her own demons. Her hands tremble as suppressed memories surface. Her mother's funeral, sparse attendance because successful people don't waste time on failures. The moment she decided that power was the only protection against powerlessness. Morrison notices her distress, moving closer in the protective formation they'd perfected in combat zones. He knows the breathing technique she's employing, learned after their hardest cases when the weight of injustice threatened to break them both. 4 counts in, hold, release, she whispers, the mantra that transforms trauma into purpose. In this moment of vulnerability, Sarah achieves clarity her mother never had the chance to find. The investigation evidence is devastating. Loan applications from minorities rejected at 3 times the rate of white applicants with inferior credit, qualified job candidates dismissed after in-person interviews revealed their race, elderly customers steered toward predatory products, each violation meticulously documented by agents who've spent months posing as janitors, food delivery drivers, job applicants. Morrison's earpiece announces the bank president's arrival with corporate lawyers, but Sarah has anticipated this. Every element follows federal guidelines to the letter, each interaction initiated by bank employees' choices, not federal provocation. The scared girl who entered 90 minutes ago reveals herself as a commander who spent 2 decades preparing for this moment. But the revelation runs deeper than professional competence. Sarah recognizes something in Hartwell's desperation that her teenage rage couldn't have seen. He's trapped in the same system that destroyed her mother, just on a different level. The machine that crushed her mother's dreams also crushed Hartwell's humanity, turning him into its instrument. This recognition doesn't excuse his actions but transforms her mission from personal vendetta to systemic liberation. Her mother wanted to feed people, to create community through food. Sarah honors that dream by feeding justice to the starved, creating community through equality. Do you think people need to be shown their own prejudices this dramatically? Is subtle change enough, or does transformation require shock? The bank president's Mercedes screeches into the parking lot as federal agents process evidence inside. Sarah Mitchell stands at the center of the chaos, but something fundamental shifts in her bearing. 20 years of armor built from her mother's humiliation suddenly feels unnecessary. The choice crystallizes, revenge or transformation. As corporate lawyers flood through the doors shouting about entrapment, Sarah makes the decision that would have made her mother proud. She chooses healing over hatred. The lawyer's arguments evaporate as she produces 6 months of meticulous documentation. But the most devastating evidence comes from her personal revelation. This bank denied my mother a loan 26 years ago. I could have recused myself, could have let anger guide this investigation. Instead, I chose to experience what she experienced, to ensure the evidence was beyond reproach. The admission transforms the case from professional to deeply personal. Hartwell's facade crumbles as he faces federal prosecution. His desperate plea emerges through tears. I have 3 kids in college. I knew it was wrong, but the pressure to maintain our clientele standards came from above. Sarah's response shocks everyone, including Morrison. She approaches Hartwell with unexpected compassion, seeing in him another victim of the system, corrupted rather than evil. Mr. Hartwell, the system failed us both. You became what they demanded, and I became what trauma created. But today we can choose differently. Her offer cuts through the federal proceedings, testify about institutional pressure, help dismantle the system that corrupted him. Hartwell's tears flow as he recognizes both his guilt and the unexpected grace. Sarah sees her mother in that moment, not the humiliated woman, but the generous soul who taught that understanding trumps vengeance. In this act of forgiveness, Sarah realizes what her mother truly wanted, not the destruction of those who wronged her, but the transformation of the system that created them. The anger she's carried like a weapon transforms into a tool for healing. She turns to the customers who participated in her humiliation, but her words carry no venom. She hands out business cards. If you've experienced discrimination, call this number. Today isn't about punishment, but prevention. As she walks toward the exit, her internal world has transformed completely. The simple dress no longer serves as camouflage, but as choice, authenticity rather than strategy. Her mother's photo waits on the dashboard, and for the first time in 20 years, Sarah can look at it without pain. The investigation's impact ripples outward immediately. Someone's social media post titled, "You won't believe what happened at my bank today," already has 10,000 shares. The image of federal agents saluting a woman in a $20 dress becoming a symbol. Congressional hearings are scheduled, banking reform legislation drafted. Sarah's phone buzzes with a new assignment, but this time she answers with purpose rather than pain. Morrison joins her in the parking lot. Their partnership evolved from sharing trauma to spreading transformation. "Your mother would be proud," he says simply. Sarah nods, finally believing it's true. As she drives away, her reflection in the window shows integration. No longer the scared teenager or hardened agent, but someone who transforms pain into protection for others. The surveillance van packs up, mission accomplished, but Sarah's real mission has just begun. Tomorrow, somewhere else, another person will walk through similar doors carrying dreams instead of designer labels. Because of today, they might just have a chance. What other places do you think need this kind of undercover investigation? Where have you seen discrimination still thriving? Which institutions need this wake-up call?